So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York. Now, 10 Point has had, well, a restful night's sleep out on the rock. Her little spirit buddy, as it were. And having had a handful of tasks set before her for the day, has gone about her morning duties, gone about tending to various spirits, various parts of the sept, and as soon as she has done what must be done in the earlier part of the day, has taken to meandering, taken to wandering, and gone in search of her newest packmate, her newest Raya. And as such, we'll be doing things wandering by the smithy, wandering by the training grounds, even wandering by the pack cabin, but we'll essentially be on the perusal for Hunter's Main.
Well, Hunter's Main is actually she's probably at the training grounds, more than likely. It's her usual haunt. The cabin, training grounds, and the forge, when she's not on patrol, are where she's normally found. And today, Dallas seems to be just simply sort of doing exercises rather than like punching and snapping at training dummies. She's actually working on like the obstacle courses, and she'll be found doing one-armed pull-ups.
Oh, how fortuitous. So yeah, 10 Point will go ahead and traipse herself off the path. Probably sending just an idle, not even a particular thought or word, but just kind of pushing her presence a little bit in the pack link to give some warning that she's nearby as she meanders her way over, and will probably settle just a bit away. Go ahead and dropping in that kind of casual fashion that she does around many of her pack mates, kind of slacking down onto her knees and waiting.
Dallas, without even trying to hide or contain sort of what goes on in her head from the pack link, there's definitely the sensation of acknowledgement as she sort of lets go of the bar and kind of hits the ground, and as she straightens her knees back out, she'll turn around and look over at 10 Point and sort of grab a towel that was hanging over one part of the bar and sort of dab off her face. She looks like she's been worked up a very good sweat.
And for what it's worth, just to put it out there, 10 Point doesn't often project into the theoretical common area of the pack link unless it's to make a point. But she also is not in any way closed off from the pack link, so that's easy enough to kind of press or get a good look at whatever happens to be topmost. But yeah, she will remain there kneeling until Dallas hops down, snags a towel, and once her head actually turns about, 10 Point will, of course, tip up her chin respectfully. Good day, Raya.
10 Point?
I don't mean to interrupt, Raya, but Aiden has asked me to come to you before I see to a task he's put before me.
Hmm.
He said I did not seem very focused, Raya, and said to come to you to put it to rights.
Dallas sort of crosses her arms and looks at her. You seemed like you were fairly focused yesterday. What's changed?
I was, Raya. I was very invested in the Great Hind. But I pressed so much of myself into what I was doing. And I haven't been... She kind of pauses. And she does have something of a mild dazed quality going on. I haven't been as capable since. I'm tired. Not physically, but worn.
Dallas kind of looks at her. So you're tired and worn?
She offers something of a helpless shrug. All I know, Raya, is that I am having trouble focusing, and what I need to do will require it. Aiden seemed to believe that you could set me to rights.
Okay. And she'll walk over to where her bag is. And she pulls a bottle of water out of it and cracks it open and takes a drink. And then she'll sit down on a rock and look at 10 Point. What's 10 Point wearing right now, out of curiosity?
I can actually answer that in a comically efficient fashion. Give me 1 second to scroll. Ugh, it looks so bad when it's not full sized. There we go. We'll say she is wearing Ooh, not that. So sans footwear, as is almost always the case, there is a link. Ta-da! I made a wardrobe post because I'm vain.
So it's something she could potentially work out in.
Yeah.
Dallas sort of looks her over. And thinking back to the conversations she was having last night with some very frivolous little thing by the name of Maxine, Dallas looks down at 10 Point and sort of looks at 10 Point's arms. And she kind of gives them a once over, trying to gauge exactly how strong 10 Point is, because she's never really kind of brought that into her mindset.
She is not especially. She's not completely piteous, but yeah, she's passable, maybe. She is not by any means a muscular creature. She, one might dare say that she is certainly faster than she is strong, and she even takes a hit more solidly than she can give one.
Dallas sort of looks or walks over and will sort of grab at 10 Point's elbow and sort of pull her up to her feet. And she'll actually hold 10 Point's arm up so she can look at the sort of bicep and area.
And yeah, comically, 10 Point doesn't have the wherewithal to even like shrink back or anything. She's just kind of snagged and responsively rouses as she's tugged and just kind of watches. Because this, I mean, she wasn't particularly sure what exactly to expect, but this was not it.
Dallas will reach up with her fingers, and she's gonna do that thing. You know that thing when someone grabs the underarm or the underside of your arm, the sweetmeats that are there,
Mm-hmm.
and they give it a good squeeze and tug.
Like a painful pinch, or just to kind of see how much extra skin she's got going there?
Bit of both.
And yeah, she'll remain almost unresponsive until the pinch like hits a certain degree. And I mean, it is 10 point, and she does have a fairly decent pain tolerance. So it takes a good hard pinch to finally get a yipe out of her. But yeah, eventually she'll yipe and kind of, not forcefully even, but kind of tentatively gives a little jerk on the arm to try to reclaim it. Her heart ain't in it, though. It's just kind of like, it'd be really nice if you weren't holding this right now. Oh. It's so half-hearted. It's ridiculous.
Well, when 10 point pulls, Dallas does the Dallas thing. You know what the Dallas thing is. Have you set up a thing yet?
I'm about to. I don't know why I didn't do it in advance.
What did you think was going to happen?
I don't know. Are you gonna do what I think you're gonna do while she's at fucking willpower 1 now that she even gets to roll?
No, she's not. That
Okay.
that thing has proven somewhat.
It's frustrating if you want anything useful out of her afterwards.
Yeah. So Dallas is going to roll her strength and brawl when she goes to pull away, and gets 3 successes.
Is it a grapple?
It is a grapple.
Is she just like taking firmly a hold of the arm, or actually like pulling her in and like?
When she goes to pull away, Dallas kind of jerks her forward to grab her into a grapple because, you know, a suplex is coming.
Oh, those are always fun. Yeah, I'm gonna say she wouldn't necessarily expect that, so I'm not gonna roll defensively.
Okay.
She just kind of looks wide-eyed for half a second because it's that 2 seconds too late realization that uh-oh.
That's only 6 bashing that she can do, so. Yeah, three bashing as she kind of picks 10 point up and, you know, slams her down. Doesn't do much.
And she even soaks most of it. She takes a hit pretty well, all things considered. So yeah, she suddenly catches some airtime and hits the dirt. And that does seem to wake her up a little, at least. She gives a bit of a scramble afterwards.
Dallas looks at her and reaches down and grabs a hold of her wrist.
Scrambling aside, I'm trying to think. I'll just do this. Because it's funnier this way. Oh, yeah, she actually has the presence of mind that she will attempt to get out of the reach of that. Like, she just... shit! So, yeah.
Oh, shit, grabby hands! Get grabby hands!
Get grabby hands or bad grabby hands! Yeah, so she definitely wakes up a bit, and yeah, she goes for the snatch, and 10 point is going to kind of snag back the hand and continue trying to, like, maybe if she could just get her feet under her and maybe just get a little further away because shit. So she could probably catch her up. It'll just actually take more than an initial little grab.
All right, then we can roll some Is there not a throw mechanic?
No, there's not actually. It's one of the things that we have found strangely lacking. I'm not sure why we didn't notice sooner, but especially recently, it's like, how is there not a throw? What are you throwing?
Oh, 10 point. Well, I mean, I guess we'll just have to do it with strength roll.
Yeah. That seems legit.
But yeah, she kind of reaches out to try and snap 10 point up by the wrist.
And yeah, considering that 10 point was left on the ground and has to get off it at some point, eventually Dallas is going to manage to get a hold of her arm.
So that's 4. Is she going to try and contest?
I mean, not in a meaningful way.
Fair enough. And, no, 3 bashing, and she kind of grabs a hold of 10 point and throws her again. Slams her into the ground.
This one she soaks entirely, though it has put her back on the ground. She actually, the first time it was a very awkward kind of roll when she hit the ground and kept going, and then this time it's definitely with a little more finesse. Maybe it's reflexive at this point, but she hits the ground and kind of eats the momentum coming down shoulder first and rolling.
And Dallas will kind of throw herself down, and she's going to try and do that, mounted thing you do to someone. She's going to wait for like 10 point to roll or time it so that way when she gets back onto her back in that roll.
Yep. Jump on her and straddle.
Mm-hmm. And she'll draw the hunting knife from the sort of the back of her pants, and she'll put it right against 10 point's neck. And she'll look down at her.
Well, she stops struggling really fast, like. She actually starts freezing up about time you've got the knife even out at all, really, once it gets up into the visible range. And by the time it's set to her neck, she's practically holding her breath.
You've made very clear that your fists no longer fear the wood. It's time you moved on. But it looks like your strength is what is lacking. 10 point. You think you can throw me off? In this situation, if you couldn't, you're dead.
And she seems to hesitate even answering as well. She is very confident about her ability to take a punch. About time our packmates pull out something sharp. She gets a lot less confident.
What you will get over the pack link is that this isn't like when Dallas grabbed a hold. Well, I mean, you can assume what Dallas was thinking or planning or how Dallas felt when she was when she was choking out 10 point.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to be far more in control. There's no malice. There's no anger behind it. There's simply sort of that calm resolve behind it. And she'll notice that like the knife isn't being pressed up against her neck, like, to like, oh man.
Not in a meaningful threat.
Right. This is more like it's laying there. The edge of the blade is on her skin, but it's not pressed down to actually, unless 10 point jerked her head forward.
Yeah. It's under control, essentially.
Yes.
And yeah, it'll take her a couple seconds to assess between what she can catch off of Dallas and what she's realizing she is and is not feeling in regards to the pressure from the blade. She'll take a second and compose herself down. Dallas likewise can probably feel the initial like sense of not mindless but mild panic because cutting takes longer to heal, and oh god, don't get enthusiastic, essentially. But But she'll start kind of calming down and tamping it down. It takes her a second. She doesn't have but so much will to focus on it, but she slowly works herself back down into a calmer state, and then kind of shows those signs of assessing the situation. And she'll chew on the inside of her lip for a couple of moments, and then we'll attempt something comical. I'm not even sure what to roll for it, but what she's going to do, and she will stop projecting so that she doesn't telegraph, but she is going to try to smack the arm wide, holding the knife, kind of like tucking her head back a bit as she does so, or even turning her head so that it's the narrower portion of her neck, so she's less likely to actually, kill herself in the process. But she's going to try to smack the blade aside, and then hoping that she can do this with enough force to at least slightly unsettle Dallas's balance, is just going to buck her hips and try to throw her.
All right. Contested strength roll it.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, you'll get a negative diff because she is prone. If you want to put it in a halfway and take only one lower diff, since you're on the ground too, I guess, sort of, kind of, technically, but
She's
up to
trying
you.
to instruct right now, so she's not trying to actually beat the hell out of 10 point at the moment. Yeah. Close.
So yeah, she does a good job of at least trying, but there's no way she's throwing Dallas's balance far enough to actually pitch her off. She might surprise her with just the force she does manage to put into it, and the fact that she does so in an educated fashion, but it's not that much muscle.
Yeah. Dallas, once she kind of feels the surge, a certain amount of oh, okay, she's not without hope, certainly comes over the pack link. It definitely in her expression, but should actually sort of angle her wrist enough so that way the knife does bite a little bit into the skin just under the jaw. So that way there's no chance of her accidentally severing something.
Yay!
And Dallas will shake her head. That's not how. 10 point. Think if I were serious right now, where would this knife be going at this point?
And especially with it biting at her lower jaw, she's tipped her head back some. Because, that's my blood. How dare you make me bleed my own blood? But, so she's kind of slacked again once it didn't work, as though she kind of lost her confidence in the gesture. My throat, right?
Now, you're perfectly capable of weathering this kind of damage. Imagine if this were silver.
She actually gives kind of an involuntary full body shudder. It's brief, but it happens because in her case, no matter what shape she is, that shit hurts. And even prolonged contact will damage her. Much less, actual cutting. So yeah, there'll be an involuntary shudder and not a flash of fear, but just kind of a creeping dread.
Dallas looks down at her. What do you think you did wrong?
She, again, wrestles to get her brain back in a constructive place. It takes her a moment. I tried to rely on muscle I don't have, Raya.
Dallas is going to reach out with the other hand and smack 10 Point. Hard. Right across the face.
Well,
she doesn't have a stick.
She did not expect that as a response. So yeah, there's a shocked expression and a brief kind of start in the pack link. Just like, yeah, she had no idea that was coming. And she gingerly raises a hand afterwards, rubbing her cheek.
Think about where you're at. You're on your back. You have an opponent who's stronger than you. And she has a blade to your neck. Surging to get her off is a step in the process, but not the right one. Hard and long about what control of first. The person, and then she'll kind of like let it off for Dallas or for 10 Point to finish the thought.
The knife, Raya.
So show me what you would do. Slowly, step by step, and tell me what you're doing.
And yeah, she takes the offered opportunity to really think about it, because that is one good wrist flick from being a slice under her chin that she doesn't need. And she mulls it over and tentatively inquires, "Better my hand than my throat, Raya?" And will actually bring up both hands and is slow about it, so she can see what she's doing. And she isn't going to grab it hard enough to cut herself, but she's going to both grab the hand holding the knife as well as actually slip a hand around the blade as if to grab it, essentially, just to put the hand between the edge and her throat. And then start kind of a gentle twisting motion, as though to try to twist it out of the grasp by twisting the hand around.
Dallas sort of gives a just sort of a raised brow, and she'll take her free hand and she'll take the blade, a hand that's underneath the blade, and she'll actually guide it towards where her palm is, and sort of put it underneath like her knuckles, and then curl her fingers, sort of almost overlapping her own on the knife hand.
So that both are wrestling with it?
Yes.
And she passively accepts the correction, though once her hands are set there, will tighten them slightly, not enough to actually seem like any proper force to Dallas, of course, but enough to actually be a proper grip on the knife-wielding hand. And again, kind of makes the twisting motion to rely on the fact that the wrist has, the wrist of what's going on there, the wrist is the weak point, not the grip. So as though to twist the blade up and away and around.
Dallas seems to be fairly satisfied with that. And she'll kind of move herself so that way she's straddling like 10 Points, like right thigh. More often than not, you'll probably be in a situation in a real fight where your attacker doesn't get you in a full mount, like I was. They'll probably try and throw themselves down on you in a situation like this. So you have control of my wrist. and my arm, therefore controlling the blade. What else could you do at this point?
And I presume that if she has successfully twisted the hand around, she would just kind of exert a slight pressure as though to push it back towards her. Or back towards Dallas, I should say.
Yeah. Dallas kind of nods at that. Not a bad choice. And she'll reach out with her free hand and grab a hold of 10 Point's left knee. Or, well, she'll pat it, because this is, at this point, kind of an awkward angle. And she'll kind of tap the knee, and then she'll tap her the outside of her bicep that's got the knife.
So again, it goes back to the initial kind of position there where she's got the blade twisted and then, yeah, tries to kind of, and there's no way to really do it slowly, kind of buck up enough that she can bring the knee around and like land at most a solid little thump against the blade wielding arm.
You can strike it. You can torque. One of my favorite maneuvers would be, and she'll sort of gesture with her hand, bring your knee up over the arm, across my chest, and use it.
She actually catches on and actually kicks up the leg and goes to hook it around her front.
Now you have as much control over the situation as I had when I had you down. In fact, you have more control, more leverage.
There's a thoughtful little nod.
And if you're strong enough, the process that you tried when I first jumped on you can now be used to turn me over.
And she'll cast kind of a... There's a sensation of kind of waiting, because she gets the impression she is meant to do the thing, but doesn't want to just suddenly snap do it and piss Dallas off.
Dallas seems to be, the way that this whole thing has gone, and it's probably easy enough through the pack link for 10 Point to kind of get the gist that they're kind of going at, 1/10 the speed that they would normally go.
Okay, so yeah, she'll, with the leg hooked up and across Dallas's front, will actually both press back with the thigh to start pushing her down, and at the same time we'll try to wrench her fingers that are around the knife wielding hand to see if she can wrench it out at the same time and just kind of yank her off the knife and off of her body at the same time.
And Dallas will allow 10 Point to sort of wrench the knife out of her hand. Basically, the way this is all kind of going down is like, those videos you see of like people learning jujitsu moves for the first time.
I don't watch those videos.
Oh. Well then,
But yeah, I assume it's essentially slow-mo.
Yeah.
Teacher mode.
And yeah, Dallas will allow her to sort of bring her over and wrench the knife out of her hand, and then she'll look back at 10 Point. Now, two choices here. One, take possession of the knife and more or less turn the scales in your favor. Or you have my leg against your thigh. You have my wrist in your hands. If you bend against the elbow joint, then she'll kind of leave 10 Point to finish the thought again.
I'm trying to visualize. Give me 1 second. Assuming, excuse me, she can essentially like tweak the joint, as it were, or twist it around the wrong way with how they're positioned.
More or less, what she's like instructing 10 Point how to do is generally a arm bar where you use your hips against the joint and your legs to apply pressure while you're pulling with your hands back towards like your chin. In fact, Dallas will just kind of put that through the pack link, the series of events.
Ooh, educational. So yeah, she'll slowly kind of slow-mo into that position, though obviously she won't exert the full pressure for it, just to make sure that she's got the idea right, since the muscle memory is kind of being shared. And once she's got confirmation on that, we'll lax back up again, and this time actually take control of the knife. And actually probably seem more awkward with that. Kind of hefting it up in like that super noob stab position.
And seeming satisfied with that, she kind of puts a tap to the outer thigh.
And 10 Point immediately like whips her leg up and off of her.
Dallas will stand up and she'll offer down an arm to 10 Point.
And she will take it. And probably get hefted mighty like to her feet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, with a bit of a woof, she is suddenly upright once more and offers the knife back, handle first, as you do.
Dallas looks at the knife and she looks at 10 Point, back at the knife, and she just sort of pulls the scabbard that's in her waistband out and she'll hand it over to 10 Point.
And there's a brief puzzled knit of brow, and she will make sure it is clean first, just as if habitually, because it did press pretty decently up under her chin for a second there, and slip it in, and again try to offer it as though earnestly puzzled.
Hang on to it, 10 Point.
Are you sure?
Dallas sort of nods. If I'm teaching you, you have to learn beyond just hand to hand. Knife served me well through my stages of training. Now we'll see if it serves you.
I admit, Raya, I've never used one outside of ritual.
Knife is a good way to defend yourself, especially in the mundane world. We can't always rely on our other forms outside of the sept, outside of veil protected areas. Sometimes we have to fight in the city. And she'll kind of tap it, is far less intrusive or noticeable than a bow, a gun, or claws.
It does make sense, Raya.
So we'll teach you how to use it. Granted, you're a theurge. You don't have to master it. But it is a good fallback when all else fails.
And she presses her lips a moment, nods. Thank you, Raya.
I'm going to roll something here.
Oh my.
Oh. Okay. Dallas just kind of pats 10 Point on the shoulder, puts an arm around her, and kind of does that pull in sort of hug to the side, and she'll actually just kind of place a peck atop 10 Point's head.
And I'll give you this too in exchange. That getting more than a cursory gesture or pat, getting actually like a measure of what could be considered proper or positive reinforcement, especially in a way that could be even misconstrued as affection. There's definitely a measurable response from her in that she doesn't flat bliss out the way she does with Aiden, but it's certainly kind of the fledgling beginning of that, where she kind of flushes with it. It's easy enough to get the impression, or to just flat know that she's not generally handled in a positive way very often. So it yields a more vibrant response than might be expected.
Dallas just kind of shakes her head as she lets her go. Don't let it go to your head now.
Of course not, right? She kind of pulls herself up a little bit.
The longer we remain a pack, the longer we remain in the sept, the more we're going to be called on to deal with bigger foes, more dangerous circumstances. The more adept you are at defending yourself, participating in a kill, is one less thing that Aiden, Bailey, and Banshee and myself have to worry about if we're not focusing on defending you at that point.
I'll try not to be a burden, Raya.
You've pulled your weight so far. And aside from a few discrepancies here and there, your overall performance that I've seen since I've met you continues to grow.
And she continues to kind of nervously chew on the inside of her lip, nodding slightly. I'll try not to disappoint you again, Raya. I'm sorry that I lied.
Dallas sort of tenses up a bit and then deflates. At certain points, 10 Point, no matter what one person does, with the right effort and attitude, they can get back to where they were. And she'll offer just a very slight smile back at 10 Point.
And she seems almost nervous to offer any sort of grin back. Like it's one of those like, would that be pushing my luck? Awkward. She as such ducks her head a bit to hide the very faint smile that she will echo, just because she can't help but enjoy the fact that she has a shot at building her way back up. I'll do everything in my power, Raya, to make it right.
Good. How are your efforts with Shinlo been as of late? Quickly changing the subject.
And she casts a glance aside to where Shinlo keeps his things. That will be seen shortly, Raya. But first I must go speak to the pigeons.
Yesterday, he put all of us in jeopardy.
I know, Raya. And Aiden has asked me to do something about it, and I will. Soon.
Dallas nods.
And she realizes a split second late that, that is not how you keep a secret. Well, fuck it. Simply keep what you know to yourself, Raya, if you would.
You spoke about spiritual matters. You might as well be speaking Farsi to me at this point.
And she actually brightens a bit because, you know what? That works. And she'll back up a bit so that she can offer a bit of a bow of her head. I should get to it, Raya. Thank you for the lesson.
Real quick 10 point. And she'll kind of walk towards 10 point because her bag is on the other side of 10 point. And as she goes along, damn. Oh, shit.
What did you do?
Well, you know, Dallas does have a certain nature.
I'm trying to remember which is which.
Bravo.
Oh, boy.
She just headbutted 10 point in the face. She had 5 successes. I will let you dodge if you wish.
Nope, the headbutt is her one true weakness. Do it. And there's no way she saw that shit coming.
Oh, Jesus.
Gonna knock her flat on her ass. I don't know why. It's 1 point more difficult than most attacks. 2 points more difficult than some. But the headbutt is 10 points one true weakness. Ironic for the chick with antlers.
Oh, okay. Only 2.
And regardless... Yeah, she doesn't soak it. So yeah.
That nose of hers.
Yeah, she, admittedly, the sheer force behind it is stronger than the actual damage left in its wake, but it's still going to be enough that, as is so often the case for poor 10 point, that this slide past, culminating in a vicious headbutt, will probably startle 10 point enough, even if it doesn't actually knock her loopy, that it lands her on her ass. And she probably won't realize until she's kind of plopped down that it's not that bad. There was a mild cracking sound and there's a little bit of blood leaking out of her nose. But all things considered, compared to what she's had, it's not that bad on the scale. Still, there's just kind of a stunned plop And a startled, kind of distant look as she takes the crack on the head.
And yeah, Dallas is sort of just packing her things up like whatever just happened, she didn't see. It's almost like 10 Point just fell. Clumsy 10 Point.
Must be. And she will come back to her senses after a good couple seconds of what the fuck just happened and reach up to ensure that her nose is not knocked askew and going to heal that way. And seeing as it wasn't quite bad enough to need a real pop, we'll gingerly press at it a bit and then just slowly get back to her feet. She'll wipe the blood off on her glove and will offer a more formal thank you, Raya, before backing away a couple steps and turning to go.
As Dallas puts the strap of her bag over her shoulder and then grabs her swag up and puts that on the other shoulder, she just kind of cants her head to one side as she looks up. Next time I try and pull that 10 Point, I expect you to do something about it before it happens. Or I will repay your lapse with compound interest.
And there's a mid-stride pause. And she'll end up settled, feet side by side. And offer a thoroughly chastised, yes, of course, Raya. And then tentatively start off again.
Dallas, at 10 Points away, doesn't move. She's, drinking her water bottle, probably looking at her phone. But as 10 Point sort of gets a fair bit of distance, she'll kind of look back over her shoulder at her Omega, and she smiles, and then begins to walk in the opposite direction.
Aww. And with that, I think we can say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. We'll see you next time on the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.